Thanks. My goodness. All right, and now it's time for our main message. We have such a very special guest speaker today. You know her, you love her. Without further ado from me, please welcome Reverend Libby.
Good morning. It's wonderful to be with you here today, and it is like coming home. You know, we're looking at the last of the year today. How do you feel about that? Glad to see it go? Ready to let it go? Well, I'm wondering, as we start this letting go process, today is all about letting go. If you play with me for a moment in some of the spiritual principle behind the practice of letting go. Ernest Holmes is, in my mind, a spiritual genius who created the science of mind. And he condensed it down into 5 steps that are called treatment or prayer. And our 5 steps of treatment all stand for a superpower, a spiritual superpower that you have, that all of us have. And if we use those 5 superpowers, we're able to live into our full potential, which is our higher self. Some people call it that. But it's that part of us that is beyond the personality, beyond redoing the past over and over again in our lives. And it's that part of us that is born anew, that sees all possibilities, and that can let go with ease. So that's one of our superpowers. The 5 superpowers are recognition of our divine source and what that is. That comes first. That's number 1. Recognition of what is. Now, there's a couple of secrets to this. You can't recognize what is if you can't be in the present moment, right? Because then you're recognizing what was or what you're hoping is going to happen someday, but being right here, right in this moment. And invite you just to check in with your body. You don't have to close your eyes or do anything weird. Just check in for a moment. Just be right here with yourself. And what if, as you check in, that expands, and you're able to take in that there is this magnificent all that is, this field of beingness, consciousness itself, which is one with God. And that leads to our second superpower, unification. And that is, I am one with that. I am one with that infinite divine source. There is nothing I am that it isn't. There's nothing it is that I'm not. And you know what? That sounds like a radical thought, a really upsetting thought. Like, how can this possibly be true? How can I be God in expression? How can I be the divine source made flesh? Well, I've got to tell you, the most ancient scriptures we have today, I'm sure there are many that have been lost, but the most ancient scripture we have today that I personally know of is the Rig Veda, which is about 8,000 years old. Before writing, because it was chanted, and the chant rhymed, and so it was memorized by those who had gotten it from direct knowledge. And in the Rig Veda, it is stated, Tat Tvam Asi, thou art that. Thou art that. Ernest Holmes himself tells us, there is nothing new that I've come up with. I'm revealing to you in new language these ancient truths. And so when we recognize and then unify with it, just take that in for a moment. Let go of all the shame and blame and should and could and would. And what if all of that evaporates for just a brief second and we're able to recognize that we're pure, we're perfect, we're whole, just the way that we are in this present moment. and it holds everything. It holds everything. Then we move to our third superpower. And this is a superpower that lots of times in science of mind, we love to emphasize. It's mental science. It's the law of attraction. It's speak your word and it is so. It is done unto you as you believe. And that step in our 5 steps of prayer is called realization. And a lot of us really work on getting this. We hone our thoughts. We make ourselves positive. We step into our future. We claim it. We name it. And you know what? I have found backup for this in ancient scriptures again. And they speak of something called paravak. Paravak. It means the supreme word. When you speak your word with the power of that infinite source, unified, knowing that that's who and what you are, and you speak your word, it is manifest right before you as you walk. And here's an interesting thing about that. A lot of us get high on this power because it's a mind blower. We start to see that we can create a life that works for us, and it's joy, and we get to have life the way we want it. And so there's a little bit of, sometimes we can get a little arrogant with this stuff. Like, I'll just speak my word, get that one going. What's your problem? Some of that goes on. But you know, we're here to grow into our highest and best. And so life's not going to leave us at that doorstep. Heck no. So what happens next? It's usually not a pretty picture. Lots of times, there are some of us that get involved in this, we get knee deep in it, and that's when it hits the fan. Raise your hand. And you're like, it's not working. Oh no, it's really working now. Let me tell you, this is how it works. This is really working now. Oh my word, and the next step is a doozy. Surrender. Oh. First time I heard Ram Dass in person was in 1981, and I was 28 years old, and he talked about surrender. And I thought, that's a kind of foreign concept. It's not very American. What are we talking about here? No, really, honestly, right? And he said, you know, this part of us that thinks it's running the show is such a minute part of who and what we are, and it cannot see the whole picture. It cannot know. And so it trips up. And when you trip up enough and you don't get your way, we're led to surrender. And he claimed this for himself, and I love this illustration, so I'm going to share it with you. He had a lover, and he was deep into this lover. And it was a new love, so it was really intense at that moment, and he was passionate about this. And his lover had an affair with somebody else. And he said, there I was in the bathtub, drunk, unable to cope, and screaming at life because the one I loved was not loving me back. And then, of course, since he was an enlightened soul, bing, the moment came and goes, oh, I've got to surrender. I've got to surrender and let go. So there's a step to get to surrender, and I'm going to share it with you because we don't all have to have disaster all the time. We can actually just cut to the chase and surrender now. Why go through all that drama? Well, sometimes it takes the drama. But what if you were able to be grateful right now for everything just the way that it is and just the way that it is not? That means all your crisis, all your disaster, everything that's mounting up or not mounting up or whatever the situation is, to be grateful and give thanks for it right now, claiming the good inside it. That's a step we often don't talk about, and that's the fourth step in our treatment process. It's called thanksgiving. We can call it gratitude, but it means staying in that present moment and recognizing that that infinite divine source is at work in us, through us, around us. And regardless of appearances, the greater good is manifesting now. And I'm grateful for it. I am thankful now. And that thankfulness, that gratitude, can lead us to that step where we're ready to stand back, hands off the wheel, let go and let God. Let go and let God. So, whoa, I just got chicken skin. How about you guys? Take that in. Let go and really let God in your life right now. I know you've got a problem. I know you got an issue, because that's what we do. I went to a seminar one time where the leader was up front and he goes, listen guys, problems are infinite. Don't be afraid to let yours go. There's another one right behind it. I needed to hear that because I was holding on to mine for dear life. So let's not bore God. How about some new problems? And I'm going to invite us to do that today. I'm going to invite us to move into letting go of the old stuff, letting go of what didn't work. And that brings us to this fifth and final superpower, which is release, letting go. So I'm going to invite you to pull out your pieces of paper you were all given. And you notice it's got this little weird piece of paper stapled to it. This little weird piece of paper is called flash paper, and we're going to burn it today. But I want you to pay attention to the little card first and pull out a pen as you feel compelled, or when you get an insight, or when you find there's something you want to write down, go on ahead and write it on the white card. Come on in, sit down, and ask yourself, before we write, let's go back and do a little mini review of our year. I know. Don't worry, it doesn't have to be comprehensive. You can do it in the moment. Whatever comes to you right now, that's the right thing. Let's affirm that together, that what comes to me right now is the right thing. Because this is the infinite divine source moving through me. So I'm claiming it and knowing it is good right now. So going back over your year, I'd like you to think of what were your triumphs? Think of a triumph you had this year. Think of something that was magnificent. Maybe it was a moment of grace. Do you know what a moment of grace is? It's like when things flow and you can't believe you're in the flow like this, and it's like it's all working and it's incredible. Name those moments. Did you have a moment like that? Did you have an incident like that? Maybe you were looking for a new place to live, and holy moly, it all lines up, and it's in sync, and it works, and it's beautiful. And you want to know something? Those moments I have found in my life are most attached to some of my worst traumas. I went through the Lahaina fire this year. I moved back to the Big Island on the 18th of August. We went through the fire on the 8th of August, so 10 days later. And I've got to tell you the joy I have at being here. It's coming home for me. But it was coming out of incredible trauma, and the trauma continues. Not as much for me personally, but for many people that I know and love and care about. And we can see that in the world. But there are incredible opportunities and moments of grace and triumph, sometimes right in the middle of the worst trauma. So I'd like you to see if there's one of those that happened for you this year. Was there hidden grace? Was there the pony in that poop? You know? Do you know what that means? You're shoveling through the... And holy moly, there's a pony. The two are related. So think about that. And then think about also last year, what were some of the things you struggled with the most? You know, that you don't feel you made as much headway as you would have liked. Think about a situation in your life this year that you struggled with a lot, and maybe you haven't made the headway you wanted. And allow yourself, don't be afraid, allow yourself to bring that up, because we're going to blast through it today. All of us together. We're going to harness our group energy together, and we can blast through this together. If we're ready. If we're ready. So that situation that you worked on, what if there's a new way of seeing it? First, we perceive it. What if there's a new way of seeing that situation? Am I open to something new? And so now let's take that situation that you would like to make progress on, and if you can think of a pattern that goes along with that situation. And I'll give you an example for me. I had some really big changes I wanted to enact in my life when I moved back to the Big Island. A big change like that is a perfect opportunity to shift, because I haven't got a routine yet. Let me start it over. And I have a mental habit of worry. How do you know what some of your mental habits are? I'm going to give you guys a tip. Next time you're driving in your car, watch your mind. You know, we sit down on the cushion, we go to meditate. Watch your mind. But it's also in those moments where we go on autopilot and we start to hear the conversation in our head. Very illuminating. So I saw this pattern of worry. And what it was I was living from crisis to crisis to crisis. And it was like I was surfing on worry the whole time. This is not a way I want to live my life. That was the way my parents lived their life. It's like I feel it's ingrained. But I'd like to give it up today. And I'd like your support in giving it up. So if you've got a pattern like that, that's what I'm talking about. Look at the pattern. Look at the pattern in these challenges and write out a few words about what is that pattern in you, and are you ready to give it up today? Are you ready to give that up today? And for those of you watching us at home, I invite you to get a piece of paper and pen and do the same thing with us. And so I'm going to ask if we can put a slide up of the 3 B's. No, we're not doing that one. The next one. Okay, it's hard to see, but it says, what part of your past, belief, behaviors, and burdens are you ready to let go of? So this pattern that we talked about a moment ago, it's based on the past. And what part of that has created some beliefs for you? So I had a whole field of family beliefs behind this crisis to crisis life. I'm ready to give them up. I've got some behaviors. Worrying. Always scanning the horizon for another disaster. And I've got some burdens that I'm willing to let go. So I'm going to ask you, if you can figure out, or if you feel in this moment, what are some of your beliefs, behaviors, and burdens that you would really like to let go of today and not carry it into the new year? And write that down. And then, just take a moment. I'm going to ask you to get quiet for a moment. And we are going to do a little guided thought here. So just get quiet, and you can close your eyes if you're comfortable doing that, or just soften your gaze so that you're more aware of your inner realm than your outer realm. And just breathe in with me for a moment. And we are going to do the EO meditation, the Hawaiian hawk. So I'd like you to take in a breath of air and imagine that you have wings. And just feel them inflating with your breath. And you're rising up into a higher vision so that you can look over the landscape of your life from a higher perspective. Just breathing that in, rising up. And notice the landscape of your life, the players, the situations, the concerns, the beauty, the grace, the love. And from this higher place, ask yourself, what am I ready to let go of now? What is it time to let go of now? Gently, easily, like a leaf falling off a tree, like a shooting star across the sky. What is falling away from me now? And now you can open your eyes and write that on your paper in some form. What that is, what your higher perspective sees for you. It's all perfect, just the way that it is. And write, what am I ready to let go of now? Then I'm going to give you a minute to condense all that we have done down to a few words and phrases which you're going to write on this flash paper, okay? Take your time, be in your process, but you're going to condense it down to something you write on this flash paper. What am I ready to let go of now? And when you're done, rip it off. Others are going to pass these glass bowls for you to put your flash paper in. Yes. Yes. And so while you're waiting, those of you that are waiting, I'm going to invite you to take your flash paper in your hand for just a moment. Those of you who've given it up, don't worry, it's all good. And just put the energy in it. What is it I'm releasing? And seeing it go into this. Moving out of your body, moving out of your mind now, moving into this little piece of flash paper. Yes, what do I give to the fire today? Uh-oh, we've got a flyer. Yes, thank you. Yeah. So I didn't get a chance to write on mine, but I want you to know with me, this is all about the habit of worry and letting it go. So I'm going to step back because everybody, you can stand if you want to really look, but I want you to feel this in your body. We are letting it go. I feel like a magician. Those of you at home that are watching this, I invite you to take the paper you wrote on and tear it into tiny little bits and bury it in the ground. Let the earth take it. Or if you have a barbecue, take it out to your barbecue and burn it. Just don't burn it in the house. Okay, so let's take a moment just to go into prayer of thanksgiving, okay? So I invite you to close your eyes, just loosen up your body a little bit. Feel that presence of the divine spirit that is right here where we are. And we are made new. And we are whole because the mind that is flowing through us right now, the wisdom that is flowing through each soul right now, the ideas and thoughts that are flowing through you right now are coming from that source, and you are made new. And this life is magnificent. So I invite you to breathe that in and know that you are whole. You are perfect. You are complete. There's nothing that needs to be added. Nothing taken away. And it is done. We have finished this experience. And so we are made new, made whole, and ready for an incredible new year. And with me, please say, and so it is. Yeah.